You might hum the romantic melody of 7 Spanish angels. But forget that image immediately. Because the Bible reveals a much more terrifying truth. 7 angels will pour out the 7 bowls of wrath of God upon the earth. Who are they? And is their true role in the apocalypse what you've always imagined? Believe me, what you're about to discover, especially about one key figure, might forever change the way you perceive angelic power and humanity's destiny. Are you ready to face this truth? Join me as we unveil the mystery of the 7 archangels. Hit subscribe and the notification bell now, because this is just the beginning of even more shocking revelations. And you, what do you think when you hear angels of wrath? Leave a comment below. And to truly unveil the mystery of these 7 archangels of wrath, we cannot rush. Before confronting their earth-shattering powers, we need to grasp the roots. What exactly is an angel? And what elevated some of them to the authoritative position of archangel? Have you ever wondered if the familiar images of winged, gentle angels accurately reflect the nature of these beings who existed even before humanity appeared? Let's turn back to the most ancient pages. The word angel, malak in Hebrew and angelos in Greek, actually carries a very simple meaning: messenger. They are pure spirits, created by God, without physical bodies, and their core mission is to be intermediaries, bridges between the Almighty and all of creation, especially us humans. Imagine an invisible force, always present, transmitting divine messages and executing sacred intentions. But, like any great story, there are always turning points. Some angels, most famously Lucifer, the light-bearer, chose a rebellious path. They rebelled against God, and from radiant beings they became deformed, fallen, turning into what we know by the fearsome name demons. This differentiation is the first key to understanding the complexity of the angelic world. So, where does archangel stand in this picture? Simply put, it's a higher rank, a command role compared to ordinary angels. The Bible reveals an intricately arranged heavenly order, often called the 9 choirs of angels. Imagine a pyramid of power, divided into 3 triads. At the very top reside the seraphim, cherubim, and thrones, beings closest to God's glory. In the middle tier, we have dominions, virtues, particularly interesting angels who govern the movements of galaxies, the orbits of planets, and the laws of nature. And just below them are the powers. And finally, in the lowest triad are the principalities, or archai in Greek, who govern nations and peoples. And then come the archangels. And finally, angels, the ones we most often hear about. Their position, just above ordinary angels, indicates a leading role and superior power. And believe me, I'll soon have a separate video delving into every detail of these 9 choirs of angels, so don't miss it. Understanding this foundation, from basic definitions to complex hierarchies, is like having a map before entering a mystical land. It helps us not get lost among names and powers. Because when we talk about the 7 archangels, we're not just talking about 7 individuals, but also about their status, about roles ordained in the cosmic order. But if the Bible and ancient traditions all mention such a hierarchical system, then the next big question is, why 7 archangels? Where does this number 7 come from? Does it hide a deeper symbolic meaning, especially when linked to prophecies about the end times? That's precisely what we'll explore next, and I assure you, the origin of this number 7 will surprise you more than you think. And the origin of this number 7 archangels will indeed surprise you more than you think. We've understood their definition and position in the heavenly system. But why 7 leaders, 7 guiding lights, or rather 7 swords of judgment? This mystery lies not only in the canonical scriptures of the Bible, but also weaves through ancient texts, prophecies about the final moments of the world. Let's start with the Old Testament. Although the term archangel doesn't appear as explicitly as in the New Testament, the book of Daniel sowed the first seeds by calling Michael one of the chief princes of heaven. The Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, even translates this phrase as great angel, implicitly affirming a special status. But the real key, the door opening to the number 7, lies in a somewhat controversial book, the Book of Tobit. This book, though found in the Roman Catholic, Greek Orthodox, Russian, and Ethiopian Bibles, is not present in the Protestant Bible, as Martin Luther removed it from the canon. However, if you have an old King James Bible, you can still find Tobit in the Apocrypha, the deuterocanonical books. And it is in the Book of Tobit, when the Archangel Raphael reveals his true identity after helping Tobit's family, that he makes a stunning declaration. I am Raphael, one of the 7 holy angels who present the prayers of the saints and who go in and out before the glory of the Holy One. Tobit 12:15. This is the clearest affirmation of the existence of 7 leading archangels. It doesn't stop there. The prophet Zechariah in the Old Testament also mentions a highly symbolic image, the 7 eyes of God, eyes that continuously range throughout the whole earth on his behalf. Most biblical scholars agree that this image of the 7 eyes has a close connection, if not an identity, with the 7 archangels who are always in God's presence. They are not just messengers, but also observers, supervisors of the world. Moving to the New Testament, things become even more dramatic and clear. The term archangel appears directly in the first letter to the Thessalonians chapter 4, and in the letter of Jude, both specifically referring to Saint Michael. But the culmination of the revelation about the 7 archangels is the Book of Revelation, the final and most mysterious book of the Bible. Revelation chapter 8 describes 7 angels who stood before God, and they were given 7 trumpets. Can you feel the escalation? From those who stand in attendance to those who are given power. And then, in Revelation chapter 16, we hear a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, "Go and pour out on the earth the 7 bowls of the wrath of God." At this point, the role of these 7 angels has completely transformed. They are not just observers, not just heralds blowing trumpets, but have become the direct enforcers of God's final judgment, the bringers of 7 fateful plagues. Isn't it astounding how, from just a few clues in the Old Testament, the image of the 7 archangels has been built up and perfected with such power and dread in the book of Revelation? Thus, we have seen 3 angels clearly named in the canonical Bible: Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. So, who are the other 4? Where do their names come from? The answer lies in apocryphal sources, ancient texts like the Book of Enoch and the Apocalypse of Ezra, also known as the 4th book of Esdras. We will soon learn about them. Clearly, the number 7 and the pivotal role of the archangels, especially in apocalyptic events, have been firmly established by the Bible and ancient traditions. They are indispensable characters in the grand drama of salvation history and the end times. But before we delve deeper into the identity of each one, there's something extremely important you need to know. The Church, over many centuries, has issued very specific warnings about naming and venerating angels. Why this caution? Are there hidden dangers in delving too deeply into the angelic world that we are unaware of? That will be the focus of the next part, and I believe what you're about to hear will change how you approach this subject. And what you're about to hear about the Church's caution might indeed change how you approach the subject of angels. We've just explored the origin of the number 7 and the fearsome role of the archangels in the Bible, especially in Revelation. Curiosity about their identities, their powers, is entirely natural. But did you know that this very curiosity, if not properly guided, can lead down dangerous paths? Why has the Church, over many centuries, had to issue strict warnings about naming and venerating angels? From the earliest days of Christianity, St. Paul the Apostle, in his letter to the Colossians, had to speak out against the worship of angels and the pursuit of secret knowledge from them. What was the issue? During that period, Gnostic groups emerged, promoting a form of angel worship, claiming to receive secret knowledge from angels. The danger was that these practices diminished, even denied, the unique position of Jesus Christ as the Son of God and the sole mediator between God and humanity. You see, the line between reverence and misguided worship can sometimes be very thin. It is because of this risk that no fewer than 4 popes have spoken out to prohibit or restrict the excessive naming and veneration of angels. A prime example is Pope Zachary at the Council of Rome in 745. He strongly condemned any tendency towards angel worship, criticizing the obsession with names and angelic intervention in life. This council decreed that, for Catholics, only 3 angel names were permitted to be properly invoked and officially venerated: Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, the only 3 explicitly named in the canonical books of the Bible. Subsequently, 3 other popes in the 19th century, Pope Leo XII, died 1829, Pope Pius VIII, died 1830, and Pope Gregory XVI, died 1846, also reaffirmed this stance, showing that the issue of naming and venerating angels remained a persistent concern for the Church. Note, original text had death years for Leo XIV as 1828, Pius VII as 1830, Gregory XVI as 1832. I've used the standard death years for the popes mentioned. Pius VII died 1823. Pius VIII died 1830. However, the story doesn't entirely close there. Despite strict regulations within Catholic piety, there has been a certain tolerance for a 4th archangel, Uriel. His name appears in the 4th book of Esdras, an apocryphal book considered by some medieval Catholics to be edifying. This shows a certain flexibility, an acknowledgement of the value of extra-canonical traditions, as long as they do not contradict core doctrine. And when we look beyond the Catholic tradition to the Eastern Orthodox churches, we find full lists of all 7 archangel names, with interesting similarities and differences that we will soon explore. So, the question is, how do we balance legitimate curiosity and sincere devotion with adherence to church guidelines and avoiding spiritual pitfalls? This is a delicate discernment. And because of this complexity, in the next part, when we delve into the specific identity of each of the 7 archangels, I will present them based on widely accepted traditions, particularly from the Greek Orthodox Church, purely for educational and informational purposes, not to encourage any unauthorized form of veneration. Now, are you ready to meet the 7 generals of heaven, those who hold key roles in God's plan? Because this list, along with the meaning of their names and their missions, will surely open a new dimension in your understanding. And now, having understood the necessary caution, we are ready to meet the 7 generals of heaven, those who hold key roles in God's plan. Remember, what I'm about to share is to expand knowledge, to appreciate the richness of traditions, not to promote veneration outside permissible frameworks. We will primarily rely on the list widely recognized in the Greek Orthodox tradition, where the most detailed information is available. Are you ready? Because this list, along with the meaning of their names and their missions, will surely open a new dimension in your understanding. At the head of the list, none other than Saint Michael. His name Raphael in Hebrew is a resounding question. Who is like God? This question is not just a name, but a declaration of war, a manifesto of absolute loyalty. It was Michael who stood up against Satan, once Lucifer, the foremost light-bearing angel, when he rebelled, wanting to become a god himself. "How dare you?" Michael challenged, and thenceforth his name became a symbol of the fighting strength against evil. We see him appear majestically in the Book of Daniel, in the letter of Jude, and especially in the Book of Revelation, as the commander of the heavenly armies. Next is Archangel Gabriel. His name in Hebrew can mean strength of God, hero of God, or God is my strong man. And Gabriel's role perfectly matches these titles. He is the supreme messenger, bringing the most important messages from God to humanity. It was Gabriel who announced the birth of Saint John the Baptist, and most importantly, he was the one who announced to the Virgin Mary the mystery of the incarnation of Jesus. Perhaps the meaning "hero of God" in his name relates directly to announcing the event of the Son of God becoming man, fully taking on human nature in the pure womb of the Blessed Mother. The third, familiar to us from the Book of Tobit, is Archangel Raphael. Rapha means to heal. El means God. Thus, Raphael is God heals. He is not only the star of the Book of Tobit, the companion, protector, and healer for Tobit's family, but in Catholic tradition, Raphael is also associated with the angel who stirred the waters of the pool of Bethesda in the Gospel of John, where many sick people were healed. Although the Gospel doesn't name him, that healing miracle always brings Raphael to mind. The fourth archangel, Uriel, whom we've mentioned, appears in most lists. Uriel means fire of God, or light of God. He is mentioned in the fourth book of Esdras, an apocryphal text. There's a very early church tradition that Uriel was the angel who protected Saint John the Baptist and his mother, Saint Elizabeth, during the massacre of the Holy Innocents. Uriel's image even appears in Leonardo da Vinci's famous artwork, Virgin of the Rocks, a rare example of an angel not from the accepted trio appearing in Catholic art. Furthermore, with the name Fire of God, Uriel is also associated with sunlight and even the fires of hell. So far, we've covered the first four. Do you feel the greatness and diversity in their roles? But there are still three more in the list of 7 archangels according to Orthodox tradition. Let's pause for a moment, take a deep breath, because the following information is no less fascinating. And don't forget, if these things are opening up a new perspective for you, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps our channel. Okay, let's continue. The fifth on the Greek Orthodox list is Raphael, or Salathiel. His name means prayer of God, communication of God, or intercession of God. In this tradition, Raphael is considered the angel of communication and the one who helps present human prayers to God. They often associate the image of Raphael with the angel in Revelation chapter 8, who carries the golden censer, offering the prayers of the saints before the throne of God. The sixth angel is Jehudiel, or Jegudiel. This name can be translated as glory of God, praise of God, and some also suggest it means God is one. Jehudiel is often depicted holding a crown and a 3-thonged whip. Why is that? In Orthodox tradition, Jehudiel is seen as the angel of justice, who rewards and encourages those who do good deeds, and is also the patron of kings, judges, and all magistrates. He embodies fair reward and punishment. And finally, the seventh on the list is Raphael. His name means blessing of God. According to their tradition, Raphael has a very interesting role. He supervises all guardian angels. We believe that every human being, not just Christians, but everyone born, has their own guardian angel. So, Raphael is like a commander-in-chief, a general manager of all guardian angels on earth. He is also the patron saint of children, family life, and the protector of homes. So, there you have it, the 7 archangels, each with a name, a unique mission, creating a magnificent picture of God's intervention and power in the history of the universe and human life. From mighty warriors, solemn messengers, compassionate healers, to patrons of justice and bestowers of blessings. Are you feeling overwhelmed by the greatness and complexity of the angelic world? But after reviewing the identity and role of each one, the biggest question remains: what does all this mean for us today? And these 7 archangels, with such earth-shattering powers, what role will they play in the final events of the world as described in the Book of Revelation? That's what we will summarize and answer together in the conclusion right after this. Don't take your eyes off the screen, because the final answer might be the completing piece of the puzzle we've been piecing together since the beginning of the video. So, we have journeyed together through the identities and missions of the 7 archangels, from mighty warriors like Michael to bestowers of blessings like Raphael. Do you feel overwhelmed by the grandeur and complexity of the angelic world? Their presence and roles, though sometimes obscured by misunderstandings or indifference, remain an indispensable part of the tapestry of faith and salvation history. Now, looking back at the entire journey, the biggest question remains: what does all this mean for us today? And these 7 archangels, with such earth-shattering powers, what role will they play in the final events of the world as described in the Book of Revelation? Let's summarize what we've discovered. We began by breaking down familiar images of angels, understanding that they are not just gentle messengers, but also warriors, enforcers of justice, and sometimes bringers of judgment. We traced the number 7 archangels through the pages of the Bible and ancient texts, recognizing their pivotal role, especially in the Book of Revelation, with the 7 trumpets and 7 bowls of wrath. We also learned about the necessary caution of the Church when approaching the angelic world to avoid spiritual pitfalls. And finally, we met the identities and missions of each of the 7 archangels according to widely accepted traditions. So, what is the answer to our central question? Who are the 7 archangels really? And what is their role, especially in end-time events? The answer is, they are God's most powerful representatives, the leaders of the heavenly hosts, those who execute His will absolutely. In the end times, they are not just the eyes patrolling the earth, but also the direct instruments of judgment and purification of the world, as foretold by the Book of Revelation. They embody both the mercy and the strict justice of God. Their existence reminds us that, no matter how chaotic the world may seem, there is a divine order, a grand plan being executed. If these discoveries have truly opened up a new perspective for you, if you feel the spiritual world has become richer and more profound after this video, don't hesitate to hit the like button and share this video with friends who might be interested. And make sure you've subscribed to our channel, along with hitting the notification bell, because our journey of discovering fascinating, sometimes shocking truths about our faith and history is far from over. There are many more mysteries waiting to be unveiled. What are your thoughts on the role of the 7 archangels, especially in today's context? And what is prophesied for the future? Do you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to share? Please leave your comments below. I'd love to read and discuss them with all of you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. See you in the next videos.